Alright, Chapter 1, Section 6, 1.6, Compiling a Simple Program, page 17 in your book. So the very first program is going to be Hello Printer. There's actually a mistake on the board. I don't want you to label your tutorials based on number of tutorial, but I'd rather have you label them where they are. So this is in section 1_6, so you make a file called tutorial1_6 as your project folder. And then we're going to write the program in there. So to do a program, what you're going to do is you're going to open up BlueJ. And currently this is already running one. So I'm going to go Project, New Project. Where am I going to put this? For now, just for ease, I'm just going to throw it on the desktop. You should all put it in some better folder than that. And your folder name, this is going to be what this thing is called. So I want this one to be tutorial_1_6, because that's where it is. You can't put periods in a file path name. So tutorial16, we're going to create it. And now notice I have this new window that's called tutorial16 with nothing in it, just a little README file. So here's where we're going to click on New Class to create a new class in this package. And these are going to be, for almost all of our stuff, just a regular class. And the class name. Now the class name needs to be the .java name that's given to you. So in this case it's called helloprinter.java. So we're just going to write hello printer. Now the spelling and capitalization, that sort of thing is, we'll get into it more, but that's sort of common standard. So we're going to try to write everything like that. So for a class name, you're going to write it as capitalization of each sort of word in there. We'll get into why a little later. So hello printer. You're going to pop up where this dashed uncompiled thing, which is your class. You're going to double click on it and it's going to pop up with the text editor. Now it says right up here, write a description of class hello printer here, author version. Alright, well in where it says author, I do want you to put your name for all of those, so I know whose are whose. Now version, I don't want a version number or a date. I want what it is. So if this is exercise 1.1 or whatever, in this case this is tutorial 1.6. That way, when I'm going back through all these, I know what came from where. Okay. Now, public class hello printer, I do need that. It matches what's in your book. They're all going to be for now public. This class tells the program this is a class designation. We'll get into that more later. And notice we have some sort of examples. I've got instance variables. We haven't done anything with those yet, but this is sort of what's called a comment. We'll get into that later. For now, you're just going to knock out everything and leave it like this. Opening brace, closing curly brace. Those are right above the shift, the enter key. And to hold down shift to create curly braces, and BlueJ will automatically tab it in for you. And then we're going to follow what the book says, which is, and so please follow along, try to type this to make sure it works. If it doesn't work because you have a compiler issue or can't find the compiler or something, we need to know now. So public static void main, this is going to be a very common startup string, and the punctuation and the capitalization is very important. We're going to get into what this all means later, but for now, know that main means that's where the programs are going to start, and this is where we're going to eventually write lots and lots of classes that are going to be calling for each other and doing certain things, but main is where the computer always goes to start. Alright, so we have a comment, so we're going to do 2 double slashes. It says display a greeting in the console window. And comments are great because they let other people know the intent of your next few set of instructions will be. Obviously, you know what you're doing, hopefully, because you're writing this program. But I come through and read it. Oh, I know what they're trying to do now. It might not obviously make sense, or you might get halfway through a long program, stop, come back the next day. If you've written comments, it really helps you pick up where you left off. System out print ln, print line, open by parentheses to start my parameters of what I actually want to do. Hello world, which is one of the first things ever done on a computer, and so we'll do that as well. Close a curly brace. So this is a block statement. Inside of main, it's going to run everything inside these curly braces. And then everything in my class is in these outside ones. And now I'm done. So I could compile and see if there's any errors. You notice down here, it's going to say class compiled, no syntax errors. We're going to get into that in a second. All right, now I can close. And now notice my hello printer, instead of being slashed through, is compiled. So it's cleared out those lines. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go void main. That's where I want this program to enter. This is just a testing. And then I'm going to hit OK with no special parameters. And it pops up the terminal window, console window, and it prints what we told it to print to the screen. Alright, so that's a very short example. But make sure you can write that and get it to work, because we're going to build on that later on. So we'll close these out real quick. We're going to go back to a few things here. So, comments. That's something with a double slashed line. It improves readability, helps you stay on track, and they are ignored by the compiler. Alright? So anything you write in that line, in BlueJ it's going to sort of gray it out, the different colors depending on what environment you're using, but it's just for people to know what's going on. Now, when we went back to, oh, I shouldn't have killed it. We'll go back and we will examine what we just did. Oh, here we go, tutorial 1.6. So when you create a package name, and after you compile it, it's going to give you these 4 lines. Alright, it's going to have .java, .ctxt, and .class, and then the BlueJ package. These are all BlueJ specifics. Well, not the class, but these are things that tell the computer, or the IDE, how to up and run it. The one I need you to send to me is the Java file. There's nothing that I can run in the other ones. That's information saved by generating in the compiler. So hello printer.java, if you were to email me this file, you're going to go into, for instance, exercise 1.1, and you're going to find the face or the name printer.java file, and that's what you're going to attach for me in a when you email it to me. So we're going to go back and just open up this package. It's going to pop up here. Alright, and then we're going to double click to open the editor again. So again, class name, here's a comment right here, display a greeting. And then down here I've got my first actual command, which is system out. Okay, and that's another class that the computer already knows. You didn't write it, but it knows what it is. The system out class puts things out on the computer screen. And we have what's called a method. So a method is an action or instruction called, and it's called by specifying an object, then the method name, and then the method parameters. Okay, so my method name is println. All right, so that's the command that this class knows how to do. We currently don't have any commands besides main, or any methods besides main. This is also a method, but I've got system out. This is my class. Just like we have a new class called hello printer, there is a class system out in the computer. So that's my class name. Then I've got my method, which is my actual set of instruction. All right, and then in the parentheses, what we have is what's called a parameter, which is the information that is required by this method to actually run. So in this case, print requires us to give it something to actually print, and here we're going to give it, in quotations, what we call a string. Okay, and then the semicolon is just the end of statement. Now a string, okay, a string, a sequence of characters enclosed in quotation marks. Okay, so it's just a way of printing symbols, characters, letters, whatever you want to print to the screen or other places. It stores it in a little different way. We'll get into that later. But for instance, if I gave system out the print command of printing 3 plus 4, these are not in quotes. Okay, so it's actually going, those in that case are then numbers as the computer recognizes them, and it will print 3 plus 4. It'll actually print the number 7 on the screen. If I told it to print the, in quotes here, got my little quotation marks, the sequence 3 plus 4, then that says print to the screen whatever characters are inside of these quotes, and they have the characters 3, a space, the plus symbol, a space, and the character number 4. And so that's what it's actually going to print to the screen is 3 plus 4. It's not going to actually do the math. So that's how this sort of works. I have a class, a method, and then so essentially who knows how to run my instructions, my method, which is my actual my actual instruction name, and then any parameters or information that method requires to actually run. All right, 1.7, the last part, is errors. There are two kinds of errors. We've got syntax errors, which are a violation of the rules of a programming language. The compiler will pitch a fit when you have a syntax error. Then you have what's called logic errors, all right, which is a runtime error, which you don't discover till you actually run your program because it's your fault in that you told it to do something and it's going to do it. Computers are dumb. They do what you tell them. And you told it to do something that's not what you meant to tell it. Okay? So for instance, up here, let me erase all of that so you can actually look at what we're doing here. Alright, so I got a program, and when we compiled it down at the bottom of that little window, if you notice, again, we'll do it again, so I can compile it, we'll recompile, and it comes down and it runs through and it says, alright, great, compiling, no syntax errors. It didn't discover an error. Now let's say I forgot my semicolon, which is my end of sort of my thought, and I go compile, oh, in this case, the IDE is smart to tell you sort of what it thinks should be there. So it says right where this little red cursor is, it's expecting a semicolon. That makes sense. That we should probably have a semicolon there, right? That is a syntax error. All right, we didn't do something right. Or let's say I forgot to enclose this block out, and I'm missing reach end of file while parsing. Well, what it does is it tags this curly brace to that one and says, all right, that's one set of instructions. That's it. That whole block is done. But then I'm missing this one. It says this class technically never has an end. All right, because we're missing our bracket. Okay, so those are syntax errors. A logic or runtime error would be instead of saying hello world, which is what I wanted to print, I've told it to print hello word. Well, that's a completely legitimate thing to do. The computer's not going to complain. And so when I go to run it, though, and I run hello printer, which is supposed to say hello world, it says hello word. And hello word would be a mistake. That's not what I wanted it to do. But the computer will gladly do it because I told it to do it correctly. All right, so those are errors. So your homework assignments for Chapter 1, they are up on you can download them from the wiki page, but we'll go through them slowly. So Chapter 1 assignments, so R11.1 and R11.2, or sorry, 1.11 and 1.12. These are the ones you're going to write out the answers by hand. Right, type them into a Word document and save them. So write 3 versions of the Hello Printer Java program that have different syntax errors, and then write a version that has a logic error. So I just showed you 2 syntax errors for getting a semicolon, that kind of thing, and then write one that has a logic error. You can feel free to copy the one I just did. R112. What do the following statements print? Don't guess. Actually modify Hello Printer to run these different versions and see what it does. So what does 3 plus 4 in quotes print? Well, we went over that. That's a string, so see what it prints. 3 plus 4, those aren't in quotes, so they're not strings. And then system out println. Now notice there's a difference here. Println and print. Println just means when you're done printing whatever instructions they give you, go down to a new line and start below. Print command means print it, essentially leave your cursor right there. The next print command would happen on the same line right after it. Or what would happen, see if I printed the string 4 and added it to the not string, or the actual number in this case, 3. All right. And then your first exercise is 1.1, and when you make them in BlueJ, I want you to, we'll just keep these file names short. I don't want exercise underscore P underscore. Just do P underscore 1 underscore 1. For the first one, P underscore 1 underscore 2. For the second one, etc. So write a program called Name Printer that displays your name inside a box on the console screen as indicated below. Okay, so that's the first one. Number 2 is write a program face printer. The spacing is terrible in Word, but sort of a face like that in characters. 1.5, write a program that computes the sum of the first 10 integers, etc., etc. So again, this document is up on the wiki page. If you have problems finding it, let me know. But we're going to go ahead and do the first one together. So we're going to go open up BlueJ again. And I'm just going to modify Hello Printer. Don't do that. Write your own. So you're going to go, well, I guess I'll show you. So new project. Again, we'll dump it on the desktop. This is going to be P underscore 1 underscore 1. So project chapter 1.1. New class. Now notice in your book, and I'm going to try to remember to do it too, they use Courier New. They use a different font. Okay? When it's talking about a class or a set of instructions. So for instance, down here, notice these instructions. So that's sort of a key. And that's how your sort of the AP test will be as well. So write a program name printer. So notice that's in different font. That's your class name. All right, so we come over here and it says, what's my what's my class name? Well, it was given to you. Name printer. All right, so now I have a name printer in my exercise 1.1 folder. We're going to come down here, knock out all the sort of samples that tell you what you want to do. Now notice this blue section. This is a special type of comment, which we'll get into a little bit later. But essentially anything between the slash asterisk asterisk and then the ending asterisk slash is one giant comment. So Mr. Fisher. And let's go ahead and we'll keep the date in there. We'll do that. We'll do that. So this is going to be exercise P11, and today is 6/23. However you want to do it. All right, public class name printer, and we're going to go back and we're essentially just going to copy my hello world from tutorial 1.6. So I have to start with public static void main string bracket bracket args. Okay, down one curly brace in, and we're going to write a comment, display your name on the screen, system out println. Alright, so there's my class, my method name. And then in quotes, because we want this to be a string, and we want to print that sort of box shape, right? So I'm going to do a plus symbol. We'll edit for spacing later. That's line 1, semicolon. Alright, and then the next set of lines, in quotes, I want a straight bar. That's the one, again, right over, it's like sort of two dashed vertical lines right over the enter key. Shift, and that's going to give you a straight one. Here's a space, Mr. Fisher. Oops. Let's see, we'll put it right there. Close your quotes. It should turn green, saying that it recognizes that's a string. System out println. Another plus symbol. Dash, 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 right next to the 0 key. Close the quotes, close the parentheses, semicolon at the end, enter. One more curly brace to finish out my main block. Alright, and now if I compile, file saved, no syntax errors, close, name printer, right click, void main, left click, OK, no parameters, and there you have it. So that is exercise 1.1. So again, your assignments are on the wiki page. It's 1.1, 1.2, 1.5, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, and project 1.1. Now, when you are doing a project, All right, because it's a little confusing because the exercises start with P like 1, 1. I want this file name for your project to actually be project underscore 1 underscore 1. That way we can keep them all straight. All right, and that is chapter 1 of your AP Computer Science summer work.